my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something that I don't normally do, and that is I'm going to be telling a story time with you guys that actually happened pretty recently to me, and it was so scary. So I'm going to be turning into Tana Mojo for you guys today, telling a story time. I'm going to try to like actually take it slow. A lot is going on in my head and I'm thinking about like the entire situation. Like I just blurred out random things and I'm going to try and just take it slow, tell it how it was, and not rush myself. Today I'm going to be telling you guys the story of how I literally almost went blind. Like this is no joke. Like it was so scary. One of the scariest moments in my entire life, besides when I saw my cousin flip in her car right in front of me. But besides that, this was so scary, but that's a whole different story. And again, I'm jumping all over the place. So this is that story. It was not long ago at all. It was on July 7th, which is my cousin Alexis's birthday. So we were in Jacksonville celebrating her birthday, like just hanging out. It was a normal weekend. That day we were a bit tired because we were at the beach before, like we hung out at night. So we were just chilling. We were going to some stores. It was really hot out, so I wasn't feeling like the best. It was just kind of like icky. Like everyone was just tired. So we were just chilling. And that night we went to dinner for her birthday, like all normal. I vlogged a little bit of it, so I will link that video down below. But towards the night, we were on our way back from Olivia and Alexis's friend's house. So we were going back to their apartment, and all of a sudden I realized I couldn't see or like read any of the street signs. And I've always had 20/20 vision. I've never experienced anything differently. So when I couldn't read these signs, I got a little concerned because that's never happened to me. Like all the signs, I was like trying to read them and they were blurry, like completely a blur. And I was like I didn't really mention it that much because I was like, oh, like maybe I'm really tired. I was swimming the day before, so I was kind of thinking like maybe there's chlorine in my eyes. Like I'm used to that in the summer, like having chlorine in my eyes, and at night the nights get blurry because you swam in so much chlorine during the day. But that day I didn't swim in the pool, so it was really weird. I didn't say much about it. I didn't think much about it. And then we got to the apartment. We put on a movie on Netflix and we were all sitting on the couch, and I was like, guys, like, is the screen blurry to you guys? Like, is the movie messed up? And they were like, no. And I was like, I literally can't see it. Like it was like a film of just blur over it. That's when I kind of started, I was like, this is not normal. But again, I put it to the back of my mind thinking I was really tired, because I was, and maybe something with the pool again. Like I again didn't think too much into it. So that night we stayed up pretty late. We were exhausted, so we're like, let's just shut off the movie and go to bed. So we all went to bed, normal, blah blah blah. I slept in Alexis's room, and then at like 6 in the morning she got up to go pee, and then I realized, oh shit, I kind of have to pee. So I get up, go to the bathroom, go pee after her, and like I'm sitting there literally on the toilet peeing, and I'm looking around and everything's blurry. And I'm like, you know, in the morning when everything's blurry, like your eyes aren't fully focused yet, like a little bit, like when you literally just wake up. So that's what I was thinking it was. So I was like slapping myself literally in the face on the toilet. I was like, no, my vision is like normal. Like I'm slapping myself to get like my head like awake, if that makes sense, to like get my eyes to focus. No one was in there with me. It was just me. Everyone's sleeping, and I'm slapping myself in the face on the toilet at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, does that not sound stupid to you? Because if you could see that, I'm sure it looked ridiculous. And I'm slapping myself and nothing's going into focus. So that's when I start freaking out, and I'm like, what is going on? Like this isn't normal. Like this is not normal at all. I go into Alexis's room and I'm like, Alexis, I can't see. I don't know what's going on. And she's like,
did you use that new skincare we got last night?
And I was like, no, I didn't even touch it. And she's like,
oh, like I thought maybe you got an allergic reaction to that. Like your eyes are puffy.
And I was like, I didn't even use it. Like I used my normal skincare and I can't see. And then she told me to go put in eye drops. So I did that, put in the eye drops, and I went into her bed, and I like, obviously I didn't want to like, everyone's sleeping, so like I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to bed, and I'm just in her bed, and I'm literally like freaking out in my head. Like it was so scary. I was like, there's no way I'm going blind. Like I was just praying to God like until I fell asleep. Like I prayed myself to bed because I was so scared that something was going on, and I was genuinely afraid to go to bed again to see if it got worse, because it was worse in the morning than the night before. So I was afraid to go to bed again, and I was like, maybe, like, I don't know, I was just trying to think positively, and I was like, maybe if I go to bed. I was really hopeful, I guess. And like, I'm kind of laughing, but this like was so scary. If you put yourself into these shoes, like your vision just randomly going blurry one day. Me and Alex go back to bed. We wake up like 8:30, 9, and I'm open my eyes, like, and I'm blinking, and I'm like, is it back? Is it back? And it's not back. And like Alexis is, by this time, she's in the kitchen, and I go out in the kitchen, and I'm like walking around, and everything is blurry. Like, it's not like you wave your hand in front of my face and I can't see it. Like, I can see figures and stuff, but it's like a huge, I don't know, like literally blur. And it was so bad. Couldn't read anything, couldn't tell which phone was mine, couldn't tell which shoes was mine. So I go into the kitchen and I freak out. Obviously this isn't normal. So I get to the bar and I look across the bar, and like my cousin Olivia is standing there, and her face is a complete blur. That's when I start freaking out even more, because I can't see my cousin's face. Like, you know how scary that is? You can't see. Like, I don't know, like everything was running through my head, and I was like, this is not normal. And I was like, Via, I literally can't see. And she's like, what? And I was like, everything is blurry, like I can't see at all. And she's like, that's not good, like start researching. She really shouldn't have told me that. So I go onto the couch and I literally just start Googling, which is the worst thing to do in these situations. I'm telling you right now, never do that. If your pet is sick, never do that. If you have something on your leg that looks like a bite, never do that. Just go to the doctor or something. Never look it up on Google. Because all I see is seizure, stroke, concussion, like all these things that obviously scare the shit out of a person. And keep in mind that July 7th was the day that Cameron Boyce passed away from a seizure at 20 years old. That's also running through my head, that he just had a seizure the day before. And now I'm freaking out even more because all these things are popping up, and that's in my head. So I'm like, this is possible. Like, I was freaking out. I was like, did I have a seizure in my sleep? Like, do I have a concussion? Like, I don't know. Like, I was like so scared. I called my mom, immediately just started bawling because I think I'm going blind. Like, that's obviously so scary to someone that's always been able to see. That's scary to anyone. So I call my mom, and she's like, she's in Miami. She's not even home. She's in Miami. I'm already 2.5 hours away from home. She's 2.5 hours in the opposite direction from home. So she's 5 hours. No, she's 5 hours away from home. So she's like 7.5 hours away from me in Jacksonville. So like, it was just not a good situation. And she just starts immediately also freaking out. But like, she's telling me to calm down, but in the back of her mind, she's like, what? That's not normal. Oh my God, oh my God. And like, she was freaking out. So she starts looking up and starts freaking out on top of me freaking out. So she leaves Miami, and then we're getting ready to leave Jacksonville, and I just got my brand new car, and I'm like, guys, I really can't drive. Like, it's unsafe. I will crash. Like, immediately, like, I can't see the signs. I can't see the car in front of me license plate. So then I'm like, guys, like, one of you guys have to drive. And I immediately think Emily can't drive on like turnpikes and like I-4 and like all these major roads, because it just like gives her anxiety. So I'm like, no, Emily. And then I think of my little cousin. She's 17, and obviously that's really scary, putting your brand new car into your cousin's hands, but it just had to be done, because if God forbid anything did happen, she is blood, and our family can figure out that whole situation. Whether if it was someone else, like, I don't know if they could figure out, I don't know. So I just put it on to Sophia because she's my blood, and I just thought it'd just be better that way. Like, I'll drive in the front, she's fine. Like, I was just really putting my life in her hands, and it was very scary, but I just had to trust her because I obviously couldn't. So I'm like, everyone, let's just go. Like, I want to get home. Like, I just want to see a doctor so this doesn't progress anymore. That's what my fear was, like, to eventually like go completely blind, black, whatever blind people see. I don't know if it's just black. That is terrifying. So I was like, let's just go. Like, we get in the car. Sophia drives my car 2.5 hours home. She has some road rage, but she did well, so thank you, Sophia. I couldn't see any of the signs. She was literally like, do I get off here? And I was like, Sophia, I can't see. And it was almost like that entire drive I was looking around, like trying to like, and almost it started to get normal. Like, the blurriness became normal to me, and that was scary. And I was like, no, I'm gonna see straight again. Like, I'm gonna see 20/20 again. Like, I was staying positive, but in the back of my mind, freaking out. And on this drive home, my mom's texting me because she keeps Google searching, which she shouldn't have done. She's like, do you feel this? Are your eyes puffy? Like, do you have a headache? Like, she was trying to figure out what it was, even though she's not a doctor, but she was terrified. So I get home eventually, way before my mom gets home, because she's way further away than I am. So I finally get home. I see my grandma immediately, and I can't see her face. It's just a blur. And she's looking at my eyeballs, checking if there's like a film over it, like, anything, and my eyes literally looked like this, like completely normal. There was no film, no pus, no anything, like normal eyes, just can't see. So I get in the car with my grandma and she's like, where do we go? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I've never had to go to the hospital. I've never been sick. Like, nothing's happened to me, thank God. So I'm like, I don't have an eye doctor. Like, I haven't been to the eye doctor since like middle school, when I had to get physicals for like cheerleading, like stuff like that. Like, it's been so long. So we're like calling around. I'm calling my insurance company, like I'm calling my mom. Like, I don't even have my insurance card. I've never had to go like to the doctor, like anything. Like, I had an eye infection in January and we just went to like someone we know from like our old church. So I don't have a doctor. So I called the insurance company and they were like, do you want to talk to an on the phone nurse and see like what they think you should do? And I'm like, yes, like, cause I don't know what to do. So then I get on the phone with the online nurse and she's asking me all these questions. She's like, what do you feel? Do you feel a headache? And I'm like, a little, like once in a while, but it's mainly when I try to focus on things. Like, I would try to focus on the license plate in front of me and I would just start to get a headache because my eyes wouldn't focus. So I think I would get frustrated on top of that. And then she's like, do you see double? And I was like, I mean, when I'm reading, yes, the like letters are stacked, like it's like almost 3D, like dimensional kind of thing. She was just asking me all these questions. She's like, have you hit your head recently? And I was like, well, actually, yeah. Like, the night before, I did hit my head on a nightstand, like, pretty hard. And she's like, you need to get to the emergency room immediately. Like, you need to go right now. And I was like, what? Like, what? Like, I started freaking out. And she's like, yes, like, just go. Like, let them do whatever they need to do on you. Tell them everything you told me. And I was like, okay. Then me and my grandma rushed to the emergency room. And let me tell you, my heart was pacing. I've never been in the hospital. I've never had to check myself into the hospital. Nothing. Like, you don't even want to know what was going through my head. I was like, do I have a brain tumor? Like, oh my God, like, it was so scary. So I get into the hospital, I check myself into the ER, and they take me immediately because they said that's not normal. So they take me immediately and they tell me they're about to do all the vitals, and I start like, I'm like, Grandma, are they about to like give me a shot? Like, are they about to put an IV in my arm? I had no idea what vitals were, even though I wanted to be a nurse at one point, but I was just a little confused. I thought they were gonna put an IV in my arm. So then eventually I find out they were just like checking my blood pressure, I think it was, when they wrap it around your arm and I think that's what it's called. They checked my temperature, all of that, everything came out normal. So after they did those vitals, they took me to a room, made me put my stuff down, and before even doing anything, they made me go read an eye graph. And the nurse was like, read me the first line you can see, and I was like, I can't read any. And she was like, not even the top one? And I was like, no, it's literally like a blur. Like, I can't even see the outline. Like, it's just blur, like nothing. And she started freaking out. The nurse started freaking out. She's like, you're joking. And I was like, no. And she's like, oh my God, you're like blind, like you're legally blind. And I was like, yeah, I know, I've been scared, that's why I've been saying it. And she literally came and grabbed my hand and was like, oh my God, come here, let me walk you to your room. And I was like annoyed because I was like, I can still do things on my own, but like, I get, she literally thought I was blind and like I couldn't see it. So she literally walked me to my room, they gave me a nightgown, they made me pee in a cup, they did all this stuff that I've never done before, and it was really weird. I just didn't like it. And then the thing that I was the most scared about was the IV, and that time finally came. I have heard some scary stories about IVs, that they hurt really bad, and I've never had it done before, so it was finally my time. Needles don't usually scare me, but for a needle to be that big and stay in my arm scared me a lot. And like, I was just afraid that to move my arm it would hurt so bad. Like, that's what I was thinking about, the aftermath, kind of like, I just didn't like the thought of it. But once I saw who walked in to give me that IV, my mindset was changed. I couldn't see, but I knew that nurse was hot. I don't know how I could tell. I don't know. I could just tell. Like, I could see the blurriness of his face and I could just tell he was beautiful. I'm super sad that I couldn't see his name tag to like look him up on Instagram or something. So that was just that. And he was asking me why I'm here, and I was like, oh, like, I can't see, like, help me out. Just kidding, I didn't do that. He put it in my arm, I was freaking out, he comforted me. Just kidding, I'm so dramatic. Anyways, he put it in my arm and it did hurt, I'm not gonna lie, but then I found out the needle doesn't actually stay in me, it's just like a plastic part. So then I felt a little better, but it was still uncomfortable to move it. Like, it was sore, like didn't like it, but it wasn't that bad, so don't be afraid if you have to do it. And then he leaves and I was like, Grandma, was he beautiful? Like, I could tell he was hot even when I'm blurred. And she was like, yes he was. And I was like, did he have a ring? And she's like, and I was like, oh, like, why couldn't I see his name? Why didn't you look at his name tag, Grandma, so I could look him up on social media? And it just didn't happen. So if you're watching this video, that'd be cool if you like DM me. My Instagram is always down below. Just kidding, he's not gonna watch this. Actually, my town is really small and that'd be super embarrassing if that ever happened. So maybe I shouldn't post this to the internet. Anyways, moving on. After that situation was done, I got set up. They started running tests on me. They started first with checking my eye pressure, which was this thing that they started like tapping my eye with, and it would check the eye pressure. And the first 3 times of them literally poking my eyeball, the machine wasn't working. So it was many times later, it finally worked. They did it to both of my eyes multiple times, and my pressure was fine. It was normal. Then they did an ultrasound on my eyes, which I had no clue that was even a thing. If you don't know what that is, they usually do it to pregnant women, but I know they do it to other people to check like your insides and stuff when it needs to be checked. It's like when they put the jelly on your stomach and they use that machine to see inside. They did that on my eye. It was so weird. They put a patch on it and then the gel, and they literally went over it on both eyes, and that came out normal. So we were starting to run out of options. The doctors literally had no clue what was going on. Like, they've never seen it before. They were like, this is weird. So then they come in and tell me that I need to get an MRI, and God. I've heard horror stories about that too, about being claustrophobic and being in a tube and it being really loud. I was a little nervous, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not that claustrophobic. So I was like fine still, like I wasn't freaking out, like I was literally normal. I was like, whatever we need to do, like check my head, like I just don't want there to literally be a tumor up in there. Like, that's what was going through me and my family's minds. Like, we were freaking out. Keep in mind, my mom's still not here. She's still on her way home from Miami, so I'm just with my grandma. All this is going down. My mom's completely clueless basically of what's everything that's going on, because I couldn't text to see unless the phone was literally in my face, which is really straining for the eyes, so I barely did that. So I go down to the MRI room and they make me take off all my anklets, and I was pissed because they're the tie-on anklets. So I had to cut them off, cut my necklace off, take off all my clothes, even my underwear and bra, which was really weird. And they made me take all my earrings out. So a lot of my holes have closed. I was so mad, but at the same time I get why, because I don't want to get burned. But I was so upset, like I don't know, I was so emotional about my anklets and my earrings, and I literally cried. I cried about it. I was emotional, I was scared, I was pissed that I had to take them off because I knew it'd be hard to get the earrings back in, and the anklets were broken forever. So, and they were from Hawaii and stuff, so I was very emotional. I cried a lot, okay? Let's just forget about that and pass it, okay? I was so good in that MRI. I was so proud of myself. It didn't move at all. I was so good. I was like, I am not gonna start this whole thing all over again. It takes like 45 minutes. I'm just not putting myself through that misery. So I do the MRI, everything's good. I didn't move. The pictures came out smooth. I get my clothes back on because I didn't want to be naked around strangers. So I go back to the room and my aunt is there, my cousin's there, and it's just, I feel so loved. Like, my family was there as soon as I got out of that, and I was very scared, so that was very nice of them to be there. And we're all literally just sitting in the room, like, just thoughts going through our heads, like, because we just scanned my brain. Like, the doctors were thinking it's my brain, that I had a tumor. They were literally throwing around the tumor word theory. We're throwing around like so many words that just shouldn't be thrown around. So we're just literally sitting there like trying to stay positive and hoping that nothing's wrong with my head. So eventually the doctor comes back in and he's like, your MRI came in clear. And I was so happy. We all like jumped for joy, because obviously that is so scary. Like, that like, your brain is so important for something to be wrong with it. Like that's just something you don't want to deal with, obviously. Even though I was still like blind basically, like I was still so happy. And then that's when my mom came in, when we were all cheering, and like it was just a good moment. But then I came back to a low and I was like, wait, like I literally still can't see. Like, are we not gonna figure out what's wrong? Like, I was getting scared because I know people, like, I didn't think it was that possible, but I think if I'm right, Molly Burke, the YouTuber, she was born being able to see, and then at some point in her life, she went blind. So I was thinking of her now and what she went through, and that it's a thing that can happen. So again, I'm thinking that I'm going blind, like just naturally. And I was like, no, this is not happening. Like, I want to see the world. Like, I want to see my family's faces. Like, I want to be able to read. I want to be able to drive. Like, all these things are running through my head still, because like, yes, nothing's wrong with my brain, but I can't see. So the doctor's like, I don't know what's wrong with you, so now you have to go to an eye doctor. So they gave us an eye doctor to go to, and we had the earliest appointment the next morning, because at this time it's like 8 o'clock at night. So I go home with my mom, tell her everything that I'm feeling. She's like praying over me, like we're just like praying for the best. I go to bed terrified that I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be worse. So I go to bed with my mom that night actually, and I wake up and my vision is the same. Not better, not worse, just the exact same. So I immediately get up, I go with my grandma. My grandma drives me to the eye doctors, and we do this whole process. They check my eye, they dilate my eye, they look into my eye, they make me read the eye charts. Again, I'm considered blind. Thank you for telling me for the 20th time. And they still couldn't see anything. So the last conclusion was taking pictures of my actual eyeball. Like, they opened my eye, they literally put like a camera up to it and took really close magical pictures of my eyeball. We eventually found out that it's something called neuroretinitis, and I'm gonna look it up so I don't sound stupid. Hold on. Neuroretinitis is inflammation of the retina and optic nerve of the eye. The condition can be caused by bacteria, viruses, or autoimmune disease. It shares some features of optic neuritis. There is mostly central visual loss, which often recovers after some months. And I was like, so you're telling me that I'm going to be blind for months when I'm going to Puerto Rico in 3 weeks? Like, no, that's not happening. But he said it's also something called cat scratch, which is cat scratch disease is the single most common cause of neuroretinitis. And then cat scratch disease is an infection of the lymph nodes following a scratch or bite from a cat. So I don't know. He said basically some kind of bacteria that a cat or even sometimes a dog, the doctor said, gets into an open body wound. So I was thinking really hard. Like, first off, that day I did have a huge scratch on my back. So there's an opening that a bacteria could get into. And then I was thinking, and I was like, wow, like the night before, that night that I started to get blurry, I was playing hardcore, like hardcore with the dog. That house we went to with that dog was not that clean, so maybe some kind of bacteria did get into that wound. Second off, the day before also, we went to like this dog adoption place. I didn't touch dogs, but the area could have had dog bacteria or dog dandruff, cat dandruff. Like, something gets into an open body wound and literally inflames your retina. You really learn new things every day, because I didn't know that was a real thing. So again, I go back to, thank God I found out what it was, but am I gonna be blind for the next couple months? Like, I think he said 6 months. Like, it was a long ass time, and I was like, no, like, I'm going to Puerto Rico, I have to start school soon, like, this is not happening. So he gives me a hardcore what's it called, antibiotic, and I go pick it up, and immediately, literally that night, it kicked in. Like, taking it 4 times a day, it's a really hardcore, like not good for you antibiotic, and I had to take it for the next month. And that night my vision started to come back slowly. Like, I was watching a movie, like, and I couldn't see it, but then by the end of the movie I looked around and I was like, wait, Mom, I can see your face. And I was like, I can see the screen. Like, everything slowly started to come to me, and by the next day or two I can 100% see 20/20, and it was like so happy, because obviously I was back to normal. Like, I could drive again, like I can read, like I could see my family's faces. It was stuff like that that I was just so grateful. I still had to continue to take the antibiotic for a month. Like, literally as I'm filming this, I'm still taking it. I was so grateful. From that day forward, I will never take anything like that for granted again, like your vision. Because I was born with it, I guess I did take it for granted because I never knew anything different, and this like really taught me like how important it is. And I don't know if you guys think like I sound dramatic, but it was so scary, and I'm just so grateful. Like literally every day since then, every time I pray, I thank God for my vision because of what I went through. I am so grateful, and every day I pray that I can see, thank God I can hear. Like I'm just so grateful to be able to see the world, to travel, to be able to see my family's faces, to be able to see colors. Like I'm just so grateful, and I'm sad that I took that for granted before, but now I will never ever take that for granted again. I'm so grateful that I can see again and that it wasn't permanent, because the things that were going through my head were just really dark and really not good. So I am 100% back to normal, and that was the story time of how I almost went blind. I think I went maybe too into detail, especially in the hospital stuff, and I just got right to the part at the end. Like I was just like, why am I going so into detail? So I hope this wasn't too long, too into detail. I hope you guys get it. Like I hope I wasn't all over the place. And if you guys actually did stay till the end, one thing I would like for you to take from this video is just to appreciate what you have, to be able to see, or if you can hear. Like some people out there don't have that, and like I know if you're born with that and have it your whole life, it's so easy to take it for granted because that's all you know. But just realize there are people out there that don't have that, and what we have is like a gift, and we should actually use it and put it and benefit the world, and like use your creativity and your gifts and talents that you have, like being able to see and hear. I don't know if I'm going too deep into this. That just got really deep, but should step back. But just don't take it for granted and be grateful for everything you have, because vision is a great gift, and I will never take it for granted ever again. I said that for the 100th time. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to this long ass story time. I hope you actually watched it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and click that red subscribe button down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.